Hello, welcome back to my channel, CPTSD and Spirituality, Healing Holistically. So today, I don't really have like huge topics, but I just kind of felt like talking about following up to some of the previous videos from the beginning that I started making them, and given some insight, a little bit more insight, I guess, into how a medical diagnosis can cause a CPTSD trigger for me. So very, very young, and very, very young, I did experience medical trauma. And I want to make sure that when I'm talking about as we proceed now and as we proceed, when I'm talking about the things that I've experienced that cause trauma within me, it's not necessarily to point fingers, to blame, to call somebody wrong. I've moved beyond that, and I know that we'll have videos to talk about those things, because I do know that there was a long period of time where I was very blamey, but it wasn't helpful. So we've moved on from that. So anyways, let's just get on point with the medical trauma. I started having eye surgeries at a very young age. I think, if I can remember right, I haven't really ever went back and got my childhood medical records or anything, but these are things that I remember my mom speaking about. And then there was things that I do remember, because I was old enough to remember some of the things. So I had about 9 operations on my eyes, and I believe that the first operation was around 16, 17 months old. And I was born with a muscle disorder, where my eyes were crossed, and sometimes when I'm tired especially, they still will be. So those surgeries happened, and I do remember at one point in time waking up on the operating table, and my eye was actually out and laying on my cheek as they were working on the muscles behind it. And I remember the panic in the room when I was awake. I do remember the pain that I experienced because I wasn't fully asleep. So that's part of it, but I also have had other incidences and diagnostics throughout my life, to where I trusted the medical community, and for one, I had no idea that there was potentially other options, and for two, I trusted because that is what is considered standard care, or what have you, or the standard societal norm of seeking out the allopathic medical field and the scientific field and all of that. But in trying to deal with and get through the trauma that I received around the medical trauma, led me down path of questioning everything. I am a curious soul, and I do believe that if I didn't experience some of the things I experienced, maybe I wouldn't be so curious. But I am a curious soul. I like to know why, how, history, ancient history, go back. And I think it's part of, maybe part because I'm a Virgo. We will talk about astrology a lot on here. And they are analytical and curious and like to know things, um, and that might be exaggerated with the hypersensitivity and hypervigilance that comes along with trauma. So, maybe it's a superpower. We might be onto something here. But anyways, as things progressed throughout my life, and I just didn't want to I didn't feel comfortable always seeking out the allopathic modalities because I had so much with the surgeries. I had issues with my legs when I was young and had to wear special shoes. I was lactose intolerant. And, their solutions was to keep feeding it to me. I can remember how sick I would feel, how heavy I would feel, and it didn't matter to get me over this allergy, keep feeding me this stuff. The problems I had going to the bathroom, the stomach pains, and it was just a horrible, horrible thing to continuously be fed the things that your body was saying no, but they're like, you do it anyway. So and all of that has led me down so many paths of, like, even my eye surgeries might not have been necessary. Did my parents think they were sparing me potentially from the cruelty of people in the world? Potentially, but there's cruelty in the world. We all know that. We can't spare ourselves and spare our children from that as much as we would love to. Cruel people make cruel people. And, being that there is Native American in my bloodlines, now through study, I realize that a lot of indigenous people, more primal people, they do have, their eyes are different because they are able to kind of, be in nature and move their eyes differently. And maybe that's just how I was born, but I didn't look right. So we had to fix it, which then ended up, I am now legally blind in my left eye. I have vision problems with this eye. So sometimes, throughout, I have realized that sometimes the best intentions cause the most harm. So moving forward, I ended up like being diagnosed with another cancer when I was younger, and it was a cervical cancer, and I went through the treatments at the time for that. And then moving forward, I had even more problems, uterine problems and things like that. And so it came to a point to where, and I was still pretty, I was very exploratory of natural medicine and did try to use as much, but I still was quite brainwashed to that modern medicine, allopathic medicine's the only way. So I had a hysterectomy, and in that there was some complications. Immediately thereafter, I went through several hours where I was hemorrhaging, and it's a really scary time. I got through that, and then moving forward into a couple months into the healing of the hysterectomy, at the same time had a bladder sling that was put in. Within a few weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, into the healing, I knew something was wrong. So I would, go back to my doctor and say, hey, I think something's not right here. These are my symptoms, and it's very painful. Led me down even further path. 3-4 months goes by. I go back. I'm like, hey, something is really wrong here. I'm in a lot of pain. I feel like, every time I use a bathroom that go urinate, it's like shards of glass are coming out of me. It just, and I would be misdiagnosed at that time with like a kidney infection or a bladder infection or what have you. And years, this accumulated for years, to the point where my quality of life was awful, awful. Um, it was just hard to sleep. It was hard to eat. I kept feeling dismissed. By this time, I'm going to all these different, I'd go to a new doctor, I'd just go to an emergency room, I'd go to a clinic, and I would always start with my story that after this surgery took place, I think something's wrong. Nothing ever has, nothing got better after that experience. And again, I would be, misdiagnosed. And then there was a period of time that I went where I just stopped going and asking for help. I started doing some, research and what could I be doing that could help myself. And it got down the road a couple years, and the things that I was trying still was not giving me relief. And I basically got to the point where I don't want to live like this. I can't live like this. It was just so painful. It's feeling so dismissed, nobody to hear, nobody to pay attention. I knew my body, and I was trying to get help for my body, and I was completely ignored on that until, yay, good things happened. I ended up going to another urgent care. I explained my story. I got the right person, thankfully. And they were like, well, have you ever had a bladder scope? No, I hadn't. So they sent me on to a urologist. And in that time frame, I ended up going to a urologist. He ended up finding out what was wrong, which happened to be a medical mistake made by the doctor that had performed my operation. And this doctor, well, we should kind of like slow down a little bit, because by this time, when I finally went back to a doctor after a few years of not going, and I went to this urgent care, and I had blood tests and this, that, the other at that time, as well as them referring me on. I had a high level of white blood cells. They were very concerned that I had cancer, so I started going to some other clinics for cancer testing. I had what's called I think they're called leukocytes. I had a high level of those in my blood, which that led them to believe that I had a blood cancer, form of a leukemia. And it got to the point to where they wanted to do a bone marrow dissection on me. And at the same time, I'm also going to the urologist, and I'm getting answers to that. So the urologist did the scope, found out that there was a medical mistake, and within a few weeks I was in surgery, and I had the medical mistake taken care of. But then I have, because of that, some lifelong restrictions because of this medical mistake. And with that being said, and getting that taken care of, I decided at that point in time, with the cancer scare, the bone marrow appointment on the table, getting taken care of by this urologist, when I found out that it was a medical mistake, I kind of was like, F all of this. F it all. And I really delved very, very deeply into holistic healing holistically, how often and how wrong these doctors are, what other people go through, because they're practicing medicine. It's a practice. It's an experiment. Because for whatever reason, the old modalities that people had used for thousands and thousands of years could not be brought forward. It's very sad how that all happened, but here we are to today with the sickest society in the world with the best health care. You can all go and research the statistics that now we've went from like 1 to 10 kids with autism spectrum disorder. You can go and look that 54% of America's children are experiencing some kind of an autoimmune disease or some kind of illness, the mental illness. Everything is rampant, and we're still not really walking away from and really saying, hey, okay, you've been practicing and you're practicing, and this modality just seems to be quite a bit harmful. And I think a lot of it has to do with, we're all so afraid to die. And I do have the trauma around near-death experiences. And, I think I'm starting to have a healthy relationship with life and death as I have proceeded through my healing journey with the CPTSD. So I think that that's the biggest thing. I think that all people really need to clear their minds away from all this compound programming around life and death. Death is just as natural as life. It's sad. It's, and especially when we don't believe it's our time or somebody's time. But I think that, and we can get into so many conversations around just that, and I'll just kind of leave it there, and more videos will come and we will touch base on that. So bringing it full circle is, getting this new cancer diagnosis and having all these procedures and these appointments and all these people telling me what is best, what I should do, all of that, when I have been spending a very, very great deal of my time in the and 10, 15, maybe 20, little bit here and there since I was younger. Always very interested in natural healing, the ability of the human to heal, why humans are sick. I have a very, very wide spectrum of knowledge around natural healing, and it took a minute because it did give me a trigger, and I did get afraid, but I worked through that, and thankfully for the support I have in my life and the people that I have to talk to about it, and I still haven't, made all the decisions that need to be made, but I just wanted to kind of touch base with my community here and give them a little bit more insight to why I would have a trigger around a diagnosis and the thoughts and ideas of, following protocols and procedures in a system that I don't trust because I've been injured by. So there's that for today. This one's been pretty long, but I just kind of wanted to touch base on that. And I appreciate you joining me on my channel. I look forward to growing and learning and helping others learn and grow. So if you are here for the journey and you're enjoying the journey and you're interested in where it's going to go, please like and subscribe, and have a great day.